Okay, let's just see whether the sound's coming in. Let's do that. Yeah, today I'm gonna. It's kind of like a news, like I've been doing, like mountain news, but it's like so many things has happened, like in the last week that I kind of quite unprecedented, really. That I thought it was worth doing a specific um one. Almost, it's going to be focused on the kind of how influencers have influenced the outdoors, whether that's for the good or for the bad. Um, I'll probably highlight the fact that I'm just as culpable as the next person when it comes to putting videos online. But there's been quite a few things in the news, especially locally. So this one was, yeah, a man was airlifted to hospital after like impacting now. You can't really make out in this if this is where it was. Most people, I've been here and jumped off this side. You know, I think maybe we got up to like an 8 foot ledge, 10 foot, and that was quite exciting. But you know, some people do walk up to the top and jump, and this guy's, I think by the sounds of it, he's gone for that high jump and hasn't cleared. And this is a common thing in tombstoning. There was a accident in Scotland with a group who were doing jumps into a gorge, and you had to clear 2 meters in 10. So, I mean, a 10-meter drop, and some kid didn't do it and they impacted the ledge. They basically quit. They didn't commit to the jump and kind of stopped halfway. Yeah, that's just one thing that happened locally. There was this poor guy who was missing for a couple of days. I don't know the things. Again, just really tragic. Um, this is of interest to climbers. So I'm pretty sure this used to be Eric's Cafe down at Tremaddock. Um, and it's now closed because people were abusing the toilets and stuff like that. It's really sad. I know that climbers, we used to, used to go there a lot and used to be, what's the word? Never used to buy anything to the end of the day, or would go in and buy a coffee at lunchtime so we could use the toilets. Yeah, but obviously it's now closed. There's some food dispensing machines in there, but um, this one is just from the inquest of some guy that died earlier on in the year. Okay, let me just stop this for a second. So I'm just going to put my headphones on so you don't hear this multiple times, because it will feed back through. This is, yeah, some of this is in order, some of it, sadly, I didn't really put in order. Um, but yeah, this is quite a horrific one, near miss. But I mean, this guy's got captain skills. I mean, I think that speaks enough, doesn't it? Like super near misses and stuff like that. And this is really just a prelude. This is the sort of thing that goes online and we see. Um, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Let me just go like this. No, it doesn't like doing that. I'll exit full screen. What I might do, I'll try and talk you through this. So this, I know I've been going through the statistics from the BMC. There is this other resource, which is the Mountain Rescue England Wales, and it looks at rescues in England and Wales, and they get to collate all the statistics from every rescue team in England and Wales. And so it kind of, there's a load of stuff here. I'm going to go through this in more depth The interesting stuff is here, in particular, up here between 2019 and 2024, the 18 to 24 year old group, the number of accidents they're having has almost doubled. I'm going to blow this up for me. You won't see it, but key contributing factors in their accidents of like 3,000, poor decision making and human error were 1,000. So 1/3 of the accidents were attributed to your personal decision making and human error. 600, I don't know what that is, 3,000, that is going to be maybe like 20%. I haven't done through this, is that, and then weather 400, tired, and poor visibility. So poor visibility I would actually put in weather myself. But other really interesting things is Clanberis Rescue Team, you won't see this, is responsible for 9% of all of the rescues in England and Wales, closely followed by Ogwen that has 5%. And with that in mind, I'm coming on to things that happened this weekend with Storm Amy. So this is, it's a rescue team in the Lake District who, were out in Storm Amy rescuing in 80-mile-an-hour winds. And you just, this is where we're getting into the concept of who is responsible for common sense in the mountains. Hopefully it would be you, the individual, but apparently it wasn't the case, because the Ogwen team rescued this man in shorts during Storm Amy off Triven North Ridge, which is a scramble, which to me is just ridiculous. Now, I haven't been going out that much. I'll be first to admit that. This weekend, I happened to be with the BMC at Plasty Brennan, helping deliver a student safety seminar, where I got to use some of my skills and knowledge to impart onto, that key 18 to 24 group. Really nice bunch of I call them kids. They are young adults, but for me, they're kids. And I'm sorry if that offends people. And I look at this and I try to put in a little bit of the human factors stuff. Like, we know that in certain circumstances, in certain age groups, that if you're in a mixed group, as in mixed sex group in the mountains, you are more likely to be caught in an avalanche. There was some research done in, I think it was Bristol, where they had somebody go into a skate park and look at risk-taking behavior, and the two variables would be like me going in and filming them, and then what they described as an attractive woman. And what they found is that while I think both sex, they were still more trying to show off to the woman. In particular, men were what I would call peacocking. And so you've got all of these factors being thrown in of, people want to be seen to be doing stuff, and what their motivation is for that can be anything, but maybe if you actually drill down, are you posting on your social medias to show the life you want people to think you're living, rather than the actual what you maybe should be doing? It was so bad that, between Clanberis, Ogwen, and the Aberglasslyn teams were all called out to these two particular incidents. Now, I don't know what went on Crib Goch, but I was driving to work. It was 6:45 in the morning, and as I passed the Clanberis base, they were already gearing up to go out. I was like, wow, this is crazy. As I continued up the pass, there'd been quite heavy rain overnight, and what you get is lots of these little new streams just like coming down and going over cliffs, and anything that was kind of like a stream already is now more like a waterfall. This is not unusual. What was particularly poignant as I drove up the pass was the waterfalls were going in two directions. Wherever a waterfall went over the edge of a cliff and became like a waterfall, it was then being blown up and you could see it extending. So basically, for all intents and purposes, it was so windy in Clanberis Pass that gravity was being overcome and water was being blown uphill. And at this point, the rescue team are getting ready to go out and go on. And so over the weekend, our teams were called to two incidents in storm force winds, including one on Triven and the other on two people who attempted Crib Goch in extremely poor conditions. I mean, I think that's a. In both cases, those involved were unprepared for the severity of the weather and the challenges they face. While we will always do our best to reach and assist those in need, we want to be clear: if the weather is too dangerous, even mountain rescue is not able to reach you quickly. In some situations, you could be waiting a long time before help can get you. Now, if you think you're getting a helicopter when you call mountain rescue, there are certain operational boundaries. One is they generally do not fly into the cloud. So if you are above the cloud base, people are reaching you by foot. They might be able to be flown in a little bit below you, but they are still reaching you on foot, and they need to get you down by manpower to below the cloud line before a helicopter can be tasked. Similarly, there are certain, when it's windy, it's just quite difficult to operate. I can remember when I was on the team, we had to fly up into Cwmglas, and we were landing right by Linglas. And we went in, and the first thing the helicopter did was just go in and come back out. And he's like, "Whoa, I'm not too sure I want to land that." And then he went in. We circled and circled, and we eventually came in. And the helicopter, just in the gusts, was like, a bit like turbulence in a plane, was like going up and down like a foot or two, just in the gusts. And somehow the pilot got us down. We got out. We got this person, and then the helicopter's like, "I'm not coming back." And so you aren't always going to be guaranteed a helicopter. This next paragraph, we also have to consider the safety of our team members when responding in such conditions. If it's unsafe for volunteers to operate, we must wait until conditions improve. The very fact that they went out on those on Saturday is absolutely staggering. These people, they really are true heroes. I question, and I think it's maybe because I have seen the reality of what happens when somebody has a life-changing accident. My best friend, Simon, I really don't know, and I might actually try and ask this question in terms of what the insurance is like. These are volunteers. If, let's just say, somebody falls over, breaks a leg, and can't do their job, that's 6 weeks out. Do they have insurance that covers loss of earnings? If they, put themselves, like my friend, in a coma and has life-changing injuries and will never potentially work again, who's insuring them against that? I know that there was some problem in Scotland with who's insuring them, and I think that was just vehicles and stuff like that. This is for me quite serious. I know there was an incident in the Lake District a couple of years ago where one of the team members again had life-changing injuries. I don't know. I think there was a GoFundMe for him, which is just, for me, utterly disgusting that a volunteer who's helping save people's lives and having to have a GoFundMe. I just don't know, but it strikes me that basically there is a complete lack of common sense out there. Um, you know, Jurgen has gone, we understand the draw of the mountains, but there are times when conditions make even a simple route extremely hazardous. Storm force winds, rains, and poor visibility can turn an ordinary day into a serious situation. Now, both of these rescues happened on scrambles. Now, on a day like that, I might have been tempted to take a group into Cumidwall. We might have walked around the low bit because the high bit, there's some scrambly bits. And the reason I wouldn't go on to the scrambly bits is in strong winds, you can easily be knocked over, and if I get knocked one step on some scrambling terrain, that's one step where I'm no longer on rock. And so, there are things you can do. And so I think for a lot of people, you need to consider having like plan A, plan B, plan C. Often what we see with incidents is people having a plan A, and I like today I'm going up this weekend to climb the North Ridge of Triven or to climb Crib Goch. It's like, well, no, the mountains don't work like the mountains don't care about your timetable. The mountains will tell you one way or the other what is appropriate, and you need to make a grown-up adult decision based on the weather and who's in your group. It's like, if I take people out in the mountains and as a professional, I have to think about what they're capable of. But similarly, even when I go out with my friends, I still think, what are they capable of? Because I don't want to put them in a situation that's beyond what they're comfortable with. Now, I'm not saying I don't ever push people in the mountains, but I do it in a way that hopefully is a little bit safer. This is a little bit of advice. If you've ever heard of Don Williams, he was one of the hard man of UK climbing, sort of peer of Joe Brown. He was leading a group of experienced climbers on a route in the Alps. The weather turned bad, and he insisted they turn back, and they were not pleased and made their clearance fear. Dom simply said, "I don't mind fighting my way out of trouble, but I'm fooked if I'm fighting my way into it." And that's essentially what these people are doing when they go into a storm. You're fighting yourself into a dangerous situation. If you go on to sort of like more rounded mountains, lower mountains, you're not going to be as exposed. So yeah, do what he says. What have we got here? Okay, so this is just a little film about Balin Miller. Balin, if you don't know, had just pretty much successfully climbed, I think, Sea of Dreams on El Capitan. His haul bag, according to Tom, who sits in the valley with big telescopes and lets people look through, his haul bag got stuck, so his abseil's down. There are no knots in the ropes, and he was live streaming. And some people would have had to see something pretty hideous. But yeah, real tragic. But again, if you've watched some of the other videos I've talked about, like trad and sport, there are, tie knots in the end of ropes, guys. This is just a little video of.
Damn it, I knew it before, but now it's official. Climbing has gone way too mainstream. What do you mean a brand like Puma is sending a model into a gym propped up in all of this rope and extra shit?
Yeah, so it's gone mainstream. So this is, this is probably one of the reasons why these things happen, in my opinion. This is a classic quote from a Yosemite ranger, by the way.
A A park ranger at Yosemite was asked, why is it so hard to design a bear-proof trash can? He said it's because there's considerable overlap between the smartest bears and the dumbest people. And I think about that all the time.
Um, yeah, what more can you say? And then you kind of have to ask, what is being put out there now. There's loads of like solo hiking videos that I kind of see all the time, and scrambling videos. And some of the scrambling videos, I'm watching people who are maybe a little bit sketchy, and they aren't looking after people, where it's basically however many people are in the group soloing every man from him for themselves. Um, I watch a lot of Magnus Matibo, and I saw a little bit of stuff, and so you know he's just done he attempts to climb the Matterhorn solo. Although he's a very, very good climber, I don't think he's ever used ice axe and crampons. There's a lot of, he actually puts warnings beforehand. He is a very good climber, but not experienced with like all of the ropes and all that shenanigans. Um, yeah, so if you want to watch this is the sort of stuff, he's had 3.1 million subscribers. How many people have watched the video? I mean, there's 9,000 comments. 1.7 million views of this. And so that, in essence, is what a lot of mountain safety and people that are trying to, put that, help people not need rescue teams are fighting against. It would have been, he's just trying to make content, and it's great. And I can't complain. I'm pretty sure if I go into my content and go videos, in fact playlists, so I know in here Kawaki, Bariloche, I solo this, try to solo this mountain, I soloed to the Nape's Needle, soloed these routes. I mean, that was a walk. Some stuff here. And then, like this one, Cliffhanger, I basically solo a route that was done in 1886, but it's still 300 meters high, and I put it on there. So, am I to blame? It's making me wonder whether there are certain things I should take off my Facebook page. It's interesting. There's also this great thing in Climbing Magazine of 10 interesting stats from accidents in North America. It's an annual publication from, I think, the Alpine Club of America. Again, I'll probably try and look into this on its own. I think it's definitely worth it. Something more feel good. 86-year-old Spanish guy has just topped out Everest, which is amazing. Again, somebody's died on a Via Ferrata. Somebody's gonna put some bold and striking artwork planned for Clanberis. If you don't know, we already have a sword by the lake. Now the sword is referenced to I think it's in the Mabinogion. I think that's where you get reference to Mervyn, who is arguably Merlin, and there's Borky Saithai, which is Cole of the Arrows up on Snowdon, which is all about King Arthur legend. But again, we've got it by the lake here, but the lake that he allegedly threw it into was actually Glenglass. But yeah, it's be interesting to see what we've got coming in. There's some things afoot from BMC to try and launch like an outdoor manifesto for Wales to try and, open up more land for rights of way. There's I don't know how this is going, but there's thousands of people on the slopes of Mount Everest. Apparently, I think there must have been a big dump of snow, and a lot of the roads and stuff will be cut off. If you ever read the Joe Simpson's book, Dark Shadows Falling, this isn't unheard of. Quite a few people have been stuck, in other places at base camps. And there's some hideous stories of like Westerners getting rescued and then pretty much refusing to pay £250 to rescue their porters per person. It's like, these people are, minted rescue everyone. They've got to wait for the snow to melt out a bit. Good story on pooping properly. There's this is being filmed. There's a bit of a unit below Little Triven at this weekend. Dead Point, a nerve shredding 5 by 60 minute action thriller which follows a group of Welsh climbers who encounter a far right faction plotting a violent act on their local mountains. Sounds crazy, but there you go. I think this is, we've got to look at this. So, kind of leading on from the sport climbing stuff, I talked about how anything you find that's in situ, so a thread, a peg, a bolt, you just have to treat it like abandoned equipment because this could have happened. Bomb of that. It's held in by hope.
Please tell me how your dreams connect the belay gate. I was wondering how do auto belay clips into the belay gate at gyms in your country. A terrible groundfall occurred at a climbing gym in my
so this accident appears to have been, if you go back
area. I experienced
there were 2 clips. One was just held on by a piece of thin accessory cord. Now, for me, that's like you've induced a risk. You've given somebody the ability to clip into something without it being safe. I'm pretty sure we don't do this in this country. I remember at the clip and climb at my local climbing wall, there used to be 2 clips, so you could clip into one and then unclip the other and clip into that. So you're effectively doing it in both. But both of those things were loading, whereas this is a piece of string. If we go through it again, we will see that
for the belay gate, not
you can see this bit of accessory cord. So this should be something load bearing rather than
protection. The little rope cannot take weight. So when he fell, the rope snapped and he hit the ground. Thankfully, he got into the hospital in time and he is recovering. The gym I'm in.
So here.
Now use a Madden quick links to connect the quick draw, then to the belay gate. I think
and
it's
again,
pretty safe. Please tell me how you.
Arguably, both of these should be twist locks. I think this one is like it's one of those quick ones where you actually have to press something. But I would just put like 2-3-way quick links on both of or quick carabiners on both of them. So you don't. You still, this locks, so you still got it locked, but yeah, belts and braces. So this is another little short video of things that can happen in climbing walls. I've had this happen to me where I was climbing, there was nobody there. I started up the climb, I threw for the last move, and it was a move that was like a big kind of like dynamic reach to kind of a flat hold. You would swing out, and if I got it just right and I kind of pulled in with my stomach, I could hold it. But if I didn't, I swing out, and as I kind of the hold got to there, I came off, and as I came off, a kid had run below me, and I took the top of the kid's head to the side of my cheek, and it felt like I'd broken my jaw. The kid was obviously screaming. Fortunately, the parents were very understanding and realized, I was like, you might want to take him to hospital. I have just fully landed on the head, his head. This is another one. And it's, why you should really try and educate the youth of today and like climbing wall etiquette. But yeah, I guess for me today, it's like, with, these rescues of people in storm force winds is just, I think, I would really be interested to hear from anyone on a rescue team who could tell me what are the comebacks when you can't work because you're injured in a rescue. What, these people are doing it for free. I honestly, you look at like the Clanberis rescue team who have got hundreds of rescues a year. They're almost Mountain Rescue England and Wales were like 2024 was the first year where they had a rescue on every single day. But if you look at the Clanberis team, they're probably responding to at least 5, I would say at least 5 call outs a week, which is certainly more than the retained firemen in Clanberis. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see where it all goes. I will still try and do these little things on safety to try and educate people. But that's kind of me for now. I am going to go. Oh, I don't know. I've been climbing and everything already, so I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. Probably watch telly and relax. Thanks if you've managed to watch it till here. No worries if you haven't. Let me just. Oh, I've got to find the thing. Let's stop YouTube. Bye bye YouTube. Bye bye Facebook.